Welcome to the Women Leaders Association podcast, where we believe we go further, faster, and have more fun when we go together. Be sure to tune in each week to hear an empowering message from the world's top women executives, trailblazers, entrepreneurs, and all-around fierce female leaders. I'm your host, Julianne Kirkland, and I will be taking you on a deep dive of each message to equip you with the principles, strategies, and tools you need to start crushing your goals, increasing your impact, creating work-life harmony, and did I mention have more fun? Because when you love what you do it better. The Women Leaders Association is the world's largest women executives association with over 30,000 women in executive and leadership positions who are committed to the development and advancement of women in the corporate arena. If you would like to get involved in a Women Leaders Association chapter, would enjoy daily podcasts, or you desire to become a part of the Women's Mastermind group near you, simply go to womenleaderspodcast.com. Now let's tune in for this incredible message.
On today's episode, hear from Eve Nasby. She's a veteran hiring and transition expert. Eve is passionate about supporting our active duty veteran and military spouse community. As such, she's hosted local TV and radio shows in San Diego focused on helping veterans understand their value and highlighting organizations that are dedicated to their success. Let's listen in now. Welcome, Eve. I'm so glad you're here.
It's great to be here, Julianne. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, so let's do it. Let's have this conversation about what it means to encourage women, especially that are veterans, that have served in the military, and what that looks like and how you've been involved in doing that thus far.
Oh my gosh, Julianne, thank you so much. And our veterans deserve all the credit for keeping us free, for allowing us and our kids to sleep well at night. And we are so blessed to live in America where we are free. And that freedom obviously comes at a cost. And of course, we always honor them, those who have passed away, who have given their lives for our freedom during Memorial Day. But what has just recently passed is Veterans Day. And that's when we celebrate those who have chosen the lifestyle of the military. And it's difficult, whether you're a female veteran or a male veteran. It's hard. You have family, you have kids, you're always gone. When you come back, there is a dynamic to take care of because your spouse has been holding down the fort while you're gone, and now you're back. And then there's challenges there. There's communication difficulties. So being a military person in the military is not easy. Yeah. Being a veteran when you transition out can be even more difficult. There's oftentimes this expectation that in some people, I'm going to get a job when I get out because everybody loves veterans and they're going to make a job for me. And that's not always true. Yeah. And then there's the other antithesis of that where they're like, okay, I'm going to wait till the last minute. I'm not going to plan. I'll probably find something somewhere. And they're a year later still not in a job, and financially there's tension and stress, and it leads to divorce. And so there's a lot packed into being a military family. When you transition out, you need direction, you need focus, you need encouragement, and that's what I and a whole bunch of other people do. I think specifically for women veterans, it could be a little bit more challenging, especially if there's kids involved. There's that insecurity of, are people going to like me? Are people going to want to hire me? How do I communicate who I am and what I've done in the military into civilian work speak? I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's interesting too, because I love that we have Veterans Day. I love that we have Memorial Day, but I love being able to have conversations about veterans outside of those times of year as well, because they really deserve our gratitude and our expression and all of that all year long. And I remember my understanding of a veteran, kind of growing up and being younger was, oh, it's those really old guys with the ball caps on. Like, that's what I thought. I didn't have any clue until like way later in life that, oh, a veteran can still be someone in their 30s, someone in their 40s, that just are no longer serving in the military due to whatever reason. But that never crossed my mind. I had such an image of what a veteran was, but in reality, they were all around me and I had no idea.
Yeah. And there's such value, Julianne. Everything you just said is so true. And there's value in that. Walmart and Amazon both did a study of veterans to see how the impact of hiring veterans into their organizations impacted the organization itself. Amazon did a study of MBA managers versus non-MBA veteran managers. And what they found over a 1-year period of time is that the non-MBA veteran managers within Amazon performed 2 to 1. They were twice as successful as their MBA counterparts that weren't veterans. Walmart also did another study, which was really interesting too. And I'm telling you this because I want folks who are veterans to be encouraged. You bring value to the table. And I want companies out there to look to hire veterans on purpose. So Walmart did a study, and they had a veteran manager that started, and they looked at that veteran manager and they compared with a new manager who was not a veteran. And they compared their productivity and the success of the store over a 1-year period of time. Interestingly enough, the Walmart that was run by a veteran did not do as well in the first 6 to 9 months as the counterpart did. However, after a year, the veteran run Walmart outperformed 2 to 1 the other non-veteran run Walmart. Why? The veteran took a lot of time to walk around to the different departments to get to know each individual manager and how shipping and receiving worked, how stocking worked, how cashiering worked. And then when they got it, and they improved the processes. So it's just a fascinating study to understand that veterans are very unique. They can do anything with a little, and they don't need a whole heck of a lot of direction for the most part.
Right. Yeah, I love that. So how did you get involved with wanting to help veterans in this way kind of transition into, the common workplace?
You know what? That's a really good question, Julianne. So I'm in San Diego, so I'm surrounded by multiple bases, Marine and Navy and Coast Guard. So it's kind of hard not to be immersed in the culture. But I will tell you that I was married to somebody who was in the Navy. When they transitioned out, it was hard. It was hard. They didn't want to be inside in a cubicle, drove them crazy. They were doing push-ups next to their desk because they missed that PT time. I saw firsthand how hard it is emotionally and physically to transition out and identify a job that gives you as much purpose in the civilian workforce as it did in the military. And so just with that, my own personal experience, when given the opportunity to volunteer in the community, I've done 3 TV shows, 3 radio shows. I write an article with one of my marketing folks. She's amazing. It goes to 4 million readers every single month, and it's all about transition. Why? Because we need to help those who are transitioning. We on the civilian side need to help those who are transitioning out to do it successfully.
Yeah. So what do you, in your experience thus far, has been perhaps the biggest challenge that you've come across working with a veteran? Like, what has been their biggest challenge in transitioning?
Julianne, they don't know their value. They don't know their value. I was helping somebody with a resume quite a few years ago now. And they were a leader in a platoon. They moved equipment. They were responsible for millions of dollars worth of stuff. And all they put on their resume for experience was, I was a sniper. And I thought, okay, let's unpack that. Have you ever managed anyone? Oh yeah. How many people? Well, I don't know, 40 at a time. Well, you're a manager. Really? You're a leader. Really? Yes. So there is this concept of they don't know their value. They don't know how to communicate the value. The other piece of it is, Julianne, they're all about the team. Yeah. And when you're in the military, that's a really good thing to be all about. But when you're interviewing, you have to talk about yourself. As hard as that might seem, you have to say, I was responsible for moving an airfield 5 miles down this dirt strip. Right. You know what I mean? And they don't do that. So they have to relearn how to communicate their value.
Yeah. And Eve, I think that's just an important conversation for any listener, whether you are in the military or not, is being able to communicate your value, being able to see your value and your worth. I've coached hundreds of entrepreneurs. That's kind of like my main focus is on entrepreneurs. And it's the same kind of thing, right? That, well, I've never really And especially those who maybe were stay-at-home moms for so long, and now they want to go and start their own journey. And I'm like, you don't realize what all you've done. But the thing is, in the entrepreneur world, people say all the time, oh, charge your worth. And I'm like, no, you can't charge your worth. Like, you are so much worthier than any dollar amount, right? You're charging for the value of the service that you provide. And that's helping them to see, like, oh, it's this being able to dissociate your personal value from how others value the work that you do, right? And it's so important for people to understand that we all have value, and being involved with people who see it in you and call it forward in you is so important, whether you are in the military or not. Being in that kind of atmosphere with people like Eve, with people like me that see that in you and want to help bring that out, get with those people.
Yes.
Hey, I'm off my soapbox now, but that's just an important message.
No, your soapbox is fantastic. Dale Carnegie once said that one of the secrets to his success was surrounding himself with people that were smarter than him. And I would say, if I were to translate that into what you were just saying, is that we need to surround ourselves who will encourage us. Yes, they can be smarter than us, but we need that posse around us that's encouraging us and getting us to go on. I don't know if you've ever seen or heard this analogy, like the flock of geese that are flying. There's the one out in the front that's breaking the wind for the rest of the flock. And the rest of them behind them are going, rah, 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 because they're encouraging them to keep going, to keep going, to keep going. That's what we need.
Yeah. And too, with that same exact analogy, right? When that one starts to get tired and it needs to take a break, another one flies down with it and stays with it until they're ready to rejoin another flock. But then the V forms again and somebody else now takes the brunt of the wind. And like, that is the beauty. And I think that's what so many veterans understand, that working together model. And then when you go into maybe a corporate atmosphere, you're like, wait a second, this feels very battlefield, but it's totally different.
Yes. You hit the nail right on the head. And oftentimes what happens is they're called into a meeting and they're there 5 minutes early and everybody else is 5 minutes late. And then they get mad. They're like, what is wrong with this, civilian workforce? So there's some adaptation and some learning. And I think the best solution to that, Julianne, is really when you go into a new environment, look for a veteran. See if you can pair yourself up with a veteran, because that veteran will help you navigate this new battlefield, as you said, of your new job.
Yeah, that's so true. So what have been some of the greatest success stories that you've seen come through?
I was at a job fair, and a female veteran walked up to me and her hands were shaking. She'd never been to a job fair. Oftentimes, Julianne, we don't realize that these folks have never interviewed for a job. They signed up. They've never written a resume. They've never interviewed with anybody. And so she walks up to our little table and her hands are shaking as she hands me her resume. And she must have had somebody help her with her resume, because it was really, really good. And people don't write really, really good resumes. Nobody teaches you how to write a resume, right, in the military. So I thought, when I read the resume, I'm like, oh my gosh, she's amazing. She had so much experience. She won so many awards. She was fantastic. And I thought to myself, she's going to be really easy to find a job for. But she did not know that. She handed it to me. Her hands are shaking. You could see fear in her face. And when I took the resume and I read it, I'm just a naturally bubbly person. And I looked at her and I said, this is amazing. You are amazing. And I meant it with every fiber in my body. And she just started to weep. And I thought, oh. So I walked out from behind the table and I gave her a hug. And I'm like, you are amazing. She said, no one in the 8 years that she was in the military, no one had ever told her that before.
Wow.
Right? So great success story. She finds a job, she's appreciated, and now she understands her value, working through that, understanding your value, finding an organization that you will align your skills and your talents with to help them push forward. That's the secret. That's the success. But in the beginning, it's very difficult when you've never been told you're amazing or you have value or you have worth to believe it enough to go out and with confidence sit in an interview and say, I am valuable and I will help take this organization to the next level.
Yeah. Man, I just keep thinking back on that sniper conversation, where I think so many people just, I believe, and I just did a TED talk on this in September about an integrative identity, but I do believe that we are in the biggest identity crisis that our world has ever seen, kind of in all ways, right? And it is in things like this. Is I think about the sniper, like that was his identity. I'm a sniper.
Right.
And now it's like, wait, but if I'm not that, like, who am I?
That's
And
exactly right.
figure that out. And I think so many people go through that when they, maybe lose a job or get let go, or, their kids move out. Any big change in your life like that. And you have created this identity around your titles, the plaques on your wall, the letters in front of or behind your name, right? And it's like that, we're so much more than that.
Yes, we are. And how do you identify that? How do you identify who you really are? There's the trick.
Yeah. So what do you do? What are some of the practical things that you do to take somebody through that?
We talk about what they actually did. We have sometimes, okay, Juliana, let's sit down and talk about what you did. You woke up at 6 o'clock in the morning. What'd you do? And then we take them throughout the entire day, because we have to unpack what's inside their head and translate it into civilian speak. On their resume, oftentimes people do not put the results that they created for the military. So they'll say, I worked in the warehouse. Okay, how much inventory was in that warehouse? How did you track it? How did you manage it? What organizational, tools did you use to track all of that? What software did you use? And it really makes them think. And then we get to put that on their resume. And then you'll see, oh my gosh, Julianne was responsible for $4 million worth of bullets. And she used, whatever, she used to track and manage all of that, but she never lost a bullet. That was the result. And so
Right.
that's how we unpack that and make it make sense. And then all of a sudden they think, oh, wow.
Wow. Yeah.
I was on the USS Nimitz for a tour. It was very kind of someone to allow a bunch of us to do a tour. They called it a VIP tour, which I was not qualified for, but they brought me on anyway. And we had the opportunity to see, we were flown in on it. So we did the arrested landing, we did the takeoff and all of that. It was really a thrill. But while we were on the ship, we went up into where the control center is, and there was this very, very young girl standing there, and people were handing her papers. She was answering the phone. She was in charge. And the curiosity within me I couldn't contain it. So when things sort of died down, I kind of edged my way over to her and I said, excuse me, how old are you? She said 23.
Wow.
And then I asked another man standing there who was obviously much senior than she, I said, is she running the ship right now? And he said, yes, she is. 23 years old, running the USS Nimitz. They don't understand when they get out that that's kind of a big deal.
Big
right?
deal.
Very humble.
Big deal. Yeah. Yeah. That's cool. I love that. I love that. So Eve, what would be, like one last piece of advice that you would give to that person that maybe now is like, okay, it's time. I am ready to transition into the civilian world. Like how do they get in touch with you? Let's go over that. And then two, like what would be one piece of advice to like start them on that journey?
Wow, that's a good question. So to get a hold of me, just super easy. I'm on LinkedIn. So Eve Nasby, you can look at me up on LinkedIn. I've got a couple contacts there, so you can definitely find me. I think the biggest piece of advice is for veterans to align themselves with someone like you, Julianne, or me, who can help them identify what their next steps should be. You can unpack, are you a candidate for owning your own business?
Right.
I truly believe most veterans are excellent candidates to start their own business. They are self-motivated. They are mission-driven. They know how to work with a team. They know how to develop a team. They know how to take orders, and they know how to give orders. And so to me, they make phenomenal entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
So I would say for them to reach out to you to say, hey, you know what? I have this idea. I've always wanted to start my own fruit stand or or spa or something like that reach out to you. Do they have what it takes? Can you give them the right tools, put them in the right direction to help them start their own business? And if entrepreneurship isn't for them right now, maybe starting a franchise could be a good idea. If it's not for them right now, they can definitely contact me. And I can't help everybody, but I'm telling you, there are thousands of very good organizations out there in your particular geographic location that can help you transition. They can help you for free. Write your resume, do just training on how to interview. They will help you network. Your network is your net worth. Julianne, that's what you were talking about. Surround yourself with people who encourage you, that can get you going in the right direction. Your network is your net worth. So identify those people who will help you get to where you want to go. And I will end with this. LinkedIn is a really valuable tool, as you probably know. What you can do, say you wanted a job at Lockheed Martin, and that job is one of 1,000. What you do is you use LinkedIn and you find people who work at Lockheed Martin who are in that department. It's very easy to do, and I can teach you how to do it. You find somebody who works in that department at Lockheed Martin and you ask them for an informational interview. You can say, look, I'm just transitioning out of the military. Would you do a practice run or an informational interview with me? And 9 times out of 10, they'll do it. So now you're getting that relationship within an organization you might not know anybody in. And the other piece of LinkedIn is you can also filter through LinkedIn and look for people who have been in the military, maybe in your branch, and reach out to them and say that same thing. Would you please do an informational interview with me? I need the practice, but more so now you're getting relationships within the company. And guess what happens? They take your resume straight up to HR and they say, I just talked to Julianne. She's amazing. Right. And now you are out of the abyss of millions of resumes and you've bubbled yourself up to the top.
Yeah. And I think too, one, when you've been around people who are openly encouraging you, right? Like there's not that, like you have no competition with these people. I have no competition. Like I genuinely want to see everyone that I'm involved in any shape, way or form be extraordinarily successful, right? Yes. Like that lights me up. I know I'm successful when I'm seeing that happen, right?
Yep.
But I think people are far more willing to help you than really society has kind of created the narrative that they are not. You know what I mean? I really do think when it comes down to it, when you message somebody in that genuine seeking help, people are 90% most likely to help you. And it's definitely worth that leap of faith to go, I'm going to go out on a limb here and do it. Because again, if 9 out of 10 say yes, then you're really not missing out,
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. It's the smartest thing you could do. It's the smartest thing you do. Because what happens is you feel like nobody knows my pain. Nobody has ever walked in these shoes before. Nobody's ever felt isolated. I feel dumb. I don't know how to do this. And then you start that downward spiral because you think nobody's ever done it. Well, look up.
Yeah.
You've got thousands upon thousands of people who have walked that very path, and they're there to help you. You just have to let them and reach out.
Yeah. There's a, I can't even remember who it is now, but there's a great speaker out there that says, the problem with having a 1 in a million message or a 1 in a million story is that only 1 in a million are going to resonate with it. Right. And so I have a set of quadruplets, right? I don't think I told you, but I do. I had 4 at one time. And so, I'm also a speaker. And one of the things that I struggled with was at first I didn't want to talk about, I didn't want to be the quad mom. I didn't want that to be my identity. Right. I didn't want to be known as that. That's all I ever accomplished was having, even though it was huge, it was still like, I'm just going to hold that within. But what I realized as I kind of navigated through that with my coaches and things, much like you do, is, okay, what did that process do? Right. It expanded my capacity physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, all the things, right? It made me realize that I am far more capable to achieve more than I ever thought possible. And that belief in itself, I never would have gotten had I not gone through that experience. And so it's things like that. It's realizing that you have your story, your journey on purpose. Like you've been through what you've been through, and it can help so many other people, but you can't be afraid to connect with people and share about it.
Yes. Everything, I truly believe this, Julianne, everything you have been through in life has prepared you for today, for such a time as this.
Yes.
You have been prepared for today. And if you get discouraged, you need somebody to help remind you that this is who you are and this is what you were created to do and to be. Embrace it.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, it's been such great conversation, Eve. Thank you so much.
Likewise.
We will be sure to link Eve's LinkedIn down below so y'all can be sure to click on that and connect with her. Thank you so much for your time. And look, if you are looking to connect in a chapter near you, be sure to go to womenleaderspodcast.com and connect with us there. Bye for now.